Hello everybody, and welcome to Ancient Architects. Please subscribe now to get the latest ancient history news and independent research from around the world. Whilst working on an update to my recent and very long Great Pyramid video, I came across something I was yet to mention in my research, but something that's certainly deserving of a video. It's information that should be more widely known because it's a piece of the puzzle that often goes unmentioned. It concerns the Queen's Chamber northern shaft, the location of the few archaeological finds that were discovered inside the Great Pyramid. The known finds include a ball of dolerite rock, a metal hook and a piece of wood, the latter being recently rediscovered at the University of Aberdeen and radiocarbon dated between 3341 and 3094 BC. I made a couple of videos concerning the rediscovery and I've linked them below in the description. Mr. Waynman Dixon first opened the shaft in question in 1872. As explained previously, and as you may already know, both the northern and southern Queen's Chamber shafts were sealed at either end. There are the famous doors at the end of both, but furthermore, they never opened up into the Queen's Chamber either, with original load-bearing limestone blocks covering them up. Therefore, both shafts were closed at their lower ends before the pyramid was even complete. The large blocks of limestone hiding the Queen's Chamber shafts are not removable. That makes the objects inside all the more important and all the more strange, as they should date back to the construction of the pyramid. According to Dixon's own diary, the grappling hook is bronze green with strong encrustations agglutinated. He then writes, once riveted onto a wooden handle. Pictures of the grappling hook are not hard to find online as it currently resides in the British Museum. And of course, the hook does indeed have two rivets, but nobody knows why for sure. Dixon states it was attached to a wooden handle, and this statement may well imply that on the hook he did find traces of wood that have since disappeared. It seems very likely that the hook was fixed to a wooden rod, but it remains speculation unless we can find the actual rod. Well, this may not be too difficult, because at the end of block number 9 of the shaft, where the shaft angles around 45 degrees to the west to seemingly avoid the Grand Gallery, there is a square wooden rod on the shaft floor extending to the eastern wall. It was once thought that the square section rod was a piece of Waynman Dixon's iron rod, which had broken off at the bend in the shaft. But Dixon's rod is hexagonal in section, and furthermore, it lies over the top of the square wooden rod. Dixon's diary gives us a bit more information about the wood that he found inside the shaft. He writes, bit of wood, broken off from a larger part, measuring 5 inches nearby, plus accidental fractured end. The bit of wood he's referring to is the piece rediscovered recently at the University of Aberdeen, but he says it is broken off from a larger part. The fact that he writes, accidental fractured, indicates it was Dixon that broke the wood himself, probably from the continual jabbing with his large iron rod into the shaft, which he did until the objects found inside the shaft slid down to the bottom. So, it appears that in this process, he broke off the end of the wooden rod, which must have been attached to the grappling hook. According to Rudolf Gantenbrink, whose robot explored the shafts of the Great Pyramid, the visible end of the square wooden rod still inside the shaft today does look to be fractured, so it does certainly seem that the grappling hook was attached to the end of a large wooden pole, wood that is over 5,000 years old. Looking around the corner, Dixon's iron rod is rammed into the right wall, but the square rod protrudes a long way into the shaft. Strangely, at the end there seems to be a strange rectangular structure, possibly with some kind of knob on top. What are we looking at? A broken slab of stone or something else? This was the best resolution Gantenbrink's robot could get, and due to the 45-degree turn in the shaft, it couldn't progress any further. The shaft was explored around 10 years later by a new robot called Pyramid Rover, but it appears that no raw footage or images of this shaft were released, apart from pictures of the door that was found at the end of the shaft. Why hasn't the full piece of wood been retrieved? What is this strange rectangular object at the end of the wooden rod? Why isn't more information about the Pyramid rover mission available online? These are questions we do need answering, and I will write to Zahi Hawass and ask him these questions directly, as I'm aware that he did oversee the mission and he is somebody that can surely answer these questions. I will publish his full response if I do receive one. Back to the end section of block number 9 in the shaft, before we reach the square rod, and next to Dixon's hexagonal iron rod there is a small rectangular object on the floor, which looks to have 2 holes drilled into it. Gantenbrink calculated that the space between the rivets in the grappling hook coincide exactly with the space between the holes in the small rectangular object still inside the shaft. Therefore, all of this indicates that the hook was attached to the square wooden rod, and this could be the specific piece of wood the hook was attached to. The wooden rod then extends down the shaft, possibly terminating at this strange unidentified structure or object. Were the pyramid builders using the rod to try and clear an obstacle during construction? A fallen stone perhaps? Something that had maybe fallen from the top of the shaft and rolled down? Or is this object something else? Zahi Hawass must have the answers to this mystery, so I do hope he can clear this up. So yes, there are without doubt a few more objects inside the Great Pyramid, which do seem to date to its construction. This length of wood would be able to give us even more radiocarbon dates, which would be a worthwhile job because the more dates that can be retrieved, the more accurate the dataset. But I really want to know what this is because it looks to have a very particular shape, and right now it seems to be another Great Pyramid mystery. I said at the start of this video that I'm working on a few corrections and additions to my long hour-and-a-half video on the Great Pyramid, because a number of people have pointed out some crucial pieces of information, some further observations I need to consider, and also some inconsistencies in my hypothesis. These are all very welcomed and will be addressed in my follow-up video. For example, in that video when I said the pyramid was enlarged, I do believe that this was all done during the reign of Khufu. In fact, maybe enlarged is the wrong word to use, because I would say that the final phase of pyramid building was making it bigger on all sides, which could have been planned from the very beginning if the king lived long enough to see his vision complete. The doors of the Queen's Chamber shafts mark the edge of the proto-pyramid and became locked inside the pyramid's core masonry when the final stage of building was complete. All this and more to come in my follow-up video. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Ancient Architects. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, please like the video, and please leave a comment below. Thank you very much.